One. A pleasant good evening to you, everyone. It is Saturday evening. It's just shortly after 8 p.m. It's the Connoisseurs of Wrestling. I'm your host, Taker's Minion. My normal co-host this week, Biff Kensington III, is not here. He's a bit under the weather, but I'm joined, as always, by my partner, my love of my life, my wife, the curator of everything that belongs to Connoisseurs of Wrestling, Legends Lover. Good evening, hon.
Good evening, everybody.
And this week, so how have you been this week? How's your shoulder? I know I know how it is, but maybe the folks don't.
Yeah, it's there, and it lets me know it's there.
This week, since Biff is not here, we're joined by one half of Two Guys, One Sport. The more crazy one, the more insane one. That's Mr. George Curtin Jerker at Savez. Good evening, kind sir.
I thought you were going to call me the love of your life, and I was going to be like, wait a second. No, it's great to be here. It's great to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Not a problem. Not a problem. You know, we needed help, and I'm glad you were able to take it on such short notice.
No problem. I'm glad to pinch it.
You know, so how's things in Chicagoland?
Not bad. Cubs took one on the chin. So, but you can't
Again?
have the world. Yeah, they lost 4 in a row. They lost today too.
Why can't they? You know, it's funny. They seem to get up for the teams that are strong, but against weaker teams like the Reds.
I don't know, man, but it's very frustrating. I went to a movie last night with the lady. We saw Ocean's 8. Had some Mexicans, so I didn't get the chance to watch the game yesterday, but I did watch today, and it was not good for my blood pressure. Let's just say that. So,
oh, that's right. You're dating someone that's from the enemy camp.
I am. I'm dating a Cardinals fan, but she is nice enough not to rub it in my face too often. So I can't be too mad about it.
No, man. And the thing about it is, I can say all the things you want because I don't know her.
Yes. I'll just make sure she doesn't listen if I want to keep a relationship.
I doubt that.
So, but it is. Thank you for having me. I think this is going to be a really cool episode.
I do too. All right, shall we get to it?
Sure.
All right, this week is the final 3, the top 3. If you've been keeping track in the nightly, we've been running a series all week. My partner has of the top 10 wrestling families in Wrestling Today. And we started out at number 10, which was on Money in the Bank. And it was the DiBiase family. We moved with the DiBiases, and then we went from there.
By the way, real quick, Ted DiBiase is in my opinion, one of the most underrated in-ring wrestlers of the past 40 years. And I'm not even talking the WWF stuff, which was excellent. The match he had with Savage at WrestleMania 4 is a lost gem. But the stuff that he did in Mid-South with Junkyard Dog and carrying him to some pretty good matches is if you ever need someone to go back and watch, DiBiase is an excellent choice. He is, if I were to make like a top 20 all-time in-ring wrestlers, I don't think he makes the list, but I think he's one of the first ones cut. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think, and he's just a very technically sound worker, and I would highly recommend anybody to to watch his stuff, especially the Mid-South stuff in like 82, 83, 84, before he became the $1 Million Man.
Right.
Because he's a wizard in the ring.
Okay. Well, to continue on, I will give a quick recap of the top from 10 to 4 because we got the final 3 tonight. So number 10 was the DiBiases. Number 9, the Colons out of Puerto Rico. Number 8, the Armstrongs. Number 7, the Wyndham and Rotunda families. We combined those 2 families together. Number 6 was the Hennigs. Larry, Kurt, and Curtis Axel. Number 5, the Guerreros. And number 4, the McMahons. So
it's a strong list.
It is a very strong list. You know, it took us a long time to figure that out. You know, figure out
so many families.
Oh yeah, wrestling is a very familial endeavor, and that doesn't even count. You know, the stuff overseas that I'm sure you could have done another top 10
Oh, sure. There's probably top 10 families over in Japan we could have done.
I'm sure there is, just with a little bit of research. So I'm sorry,
maybe that's something you two could work on your show.
Maybe. I think it's something. It's good. We're hitting a little bit of a lull before SummerSlam wrestling-wise, so I think that may be a little something I may have to look into. I think. Thank you for the recommendation.
Not a problem. I mean, I'm always willing to help, fellow members. Okay.
So, I appreciate it.
Okay. The families are always been a part of this business, as George said. It is, we talked about last week. We talked about 3 families in the AWA on our pre-tape show, the preempted show for Money in the Bank, and they were the Bachwinkles, the Ganyas, and the Vachon family. And it was just an amazing thing. And you look at that. That's just 3 families from AWA alone, the second largest promotion at the time, next to WWE. But now we're going to get into the final 3. We got the triumphs and the tragedies of all 3 families. And number 3 on the list is the Von Erichs. Yes, they've had a lot of tragedy in their life, but there's also been a lot of success. Jack Atkinson Sr., Fritz, was a rather successful man within the industry himself. Born in Jewett, Texas, trained by Stu Hart. So we already know he knows how to shoot.
You have to get out of the Stu Hart dungeon.
Yeah.
Shooters didn't make it.
Yeah, you mean workers, or the work style didn't make it. You had to shoot coming out of his dungeon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, he won titles all around the world. He was a very popular heel because this was during the era between World War II and Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So he was from Berlin.
Yeah, the Nazi gimmick.
He had a Nazi gimmick going on, something like that.
I would love to watch some of that stuff. It's very hard because a lot of companies didn't keep their tapes. They just taped over it, week after week. So a lot of the stuff from that era, like the early Capital Wrestling era, I'm sure we've talked about in the past, but like that would be just, the heat must have been off the charts. A guy in 1948 being a Nazi, like can you imagine that kind of heat that you would have gotten in the ring?
Mm-hmm. Imagine the heat he would get today.
Yeah, well, I mean, today it's different era now because you get people just bitching on Twitter because that's what they do, Yeah. But I just like for anything and everything. But like back then, like, can you imagine the crowd, just hatred, people throwing stuff at him? I'm sure it was just great.
So I want to go to you first, LL. I don't
know much about Fritz.
You don't know much about him?
Not much about Fritz. All I know is that he was trained, like you said, by Stu. He traveled all over. I know he wrestled in the AWA a little bit, but he made his home in Texas.
Yeah, and WCCW. What did you discover, George?
About Fritz?
Yeah.
That he was a brilliant businessman who made his own territory in his image. Like his territory, you watch some of the WCCW stuff, and it's very clearly faces and heels. There's not a lot of shades of gray. It's very clearly Southern style, just like he was. It's very clearly storyline heavy, just like he was. And it's very clearly just evil heels. Not only Fritz, but Great Kabuki in the late 70s, early 80s. Late Ric Flair, when he came in, would just ratchet it up all the way. Stan Hansen would be in this territory as well. It was a very successful endeavor that he did by making his territory different than a lot of the stuff in the region, by focusing on the stuff that he knew about.
Right.
Stories.
You forget one of the greatest heels ever went through that territory on numerous occasions. Abdullah the Butcher.
Abdullah, yep, Terry Funk. Although that was Brian Murillo, but he swung by all the time, and he would always play up the vicious cowboy. So would Stan Hansen. So would I'm sure when you talked about Gory Guerrero, you talked about him swinging through Texas.
Sure.
I mean, from El Paso to WCCW, it's not a long trip at all.
No.
So it's just, and one of my favorite matches in his territory is Kerry versus Ric Flair in the cage.
Oh, yeah.
Which started the Freebird Von Erich feud, which is like 3-4 years of awesome.
Yep.
So it's just the heat is off the chart, and the highlight of WCCW to me is the Sportatorium, and it's just this small little dingy rundown gym. Didn't have a lot of glitz and glamour. Probably wasn't air conditioning, which, holy Christ, in a Texas summer, No,
it wasn't air conditioned.
But every Friday, the place was packed.
Yep.
There were wait lists. They were turning them away at the door, and when they had the super shows at Texas Stadium, they would be packed.
Yep, 40,000.
50,000 people.
Yeah.
So obviously Fritz, for years and years and years and years, was able to make a successful business model. And I say this all the time on my show. Wrestling is simple. Give people characters to be invested in. Set up a bad guy that people hate. Set up a good guy to beat this bad guy that people love, and then count your dollar bills.
Yep.
Right?
It's simple.
It's very simple.
Well, yeah, but Fritz passed away he died from cancer.
Late 80s, early 90s, right?
I believe so. I'm trying to find the information here again.
It all kind of fell apart at the end.
The whole family fell apart.
Yeah. I think he outlived a lot of his kids, unfortunately.
Yeah, he outlived let's see, Jack Jr., which was the firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
He was 6 years old when he was got shocked by electricity and drowned in a puddle of water.
Oh my God.
And then let's see, David died in 84 in Tokyo from enteritis. Mike, Chris, and Kerry committed suicide.
Yeah.
That's the sadness. That's the tragedy of the family. And that's, a shame in and of itself. But, that's as we were talking about it, in the pre-show, George and LL, that's this is the cautionary tale of what wrestling can do to a family.
It's not just wrestling. It's what being excessive in all moderation in all things, right, guys? And they were very much not that. No. They would live the gimmick, live the life, do the drugs, do the partying, do the whatever, take the gas, whatever it took, and it caught up to them. And we know now that mental health is hereditary. I gotta believe some of this stuff is hereditary. No one is that unlucky,
No.
No one group of family is that unlucky. So,
what say you, LL?
I agree. There was so much in there that I believe that it runs down through generations.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the blood, guys. It's just it is a cautionary tale.
Yeah, of the second generation, which is Jack Atkinson Jr., Kevin Von Erich, David Von Erich, Kerry, Mike, and Chris, only Kevin remains. Only Kevin.
I think he's in Hawaii, right? Doing real estate?
Yeah, he's in Hawaii doing real estate. He's got a niece who wrestled in Lacey.
Oh, in TNA, yeah.
Yeah, she's retired.
She's retired, yeah.
Yeah, in 2010. And then Kevin's, both of his sons, Marshall and Ross.
They're wrestling too, right?
In 2012.
Okay. Are they still wrestling?
As of 2017, they still were.
Okay.
They wrestled at a Rage Mega Show in Israel.
Okay.
So yeah,
they're trying to make it as well.
But I think they've learned a lot. I think Kevin's being very, very protective of his boys.
I don't blame him.
I don't either.
Not one iota.
But I mean, they're one of the top families in the country. Like you said, Fritz was a sharp businessman. But one of the things I think that really hurt that promotion in the end is that how hard and how much he pushed his boys.
Agreed, and especially Mike, because Mike was never a wrestler. He never had the frame for like Kerry and to a lesser extent Kevin were built like wrestlers. They were big guys, big frame, can hold a lot of muscles. Whereas Mike was always a little smaller, but he wanted to be big like his brothers. And
wasn't Chris the one who had the brittle bones incident?
But Mike killed himself, right?
From an overdose of Placidil.
Yeah, and I've always heard that was because he was depressed.
No, Mike died. Mike died. He also had toxic shock.
Is it Mike or David then who killed him? I know
Mike committed suicide. Yeah, but there was he was married in '85 to Shani Danette Garza, and shortly after his wedding, he suffered a shoulder injury in Israel.
Okay.
Was forced to have surgery, and after the surgery, it was discovered that he was suffering from toxic shock.
Oh my God. What?
He had to retire from the ring after that, and in 1987, he committed suicide.
Because you couldn't handle being away from the life.
I don't think he could handle being away from the ring.
Yeah, it is a cautionary tale, my friends.
Yes, and Chris was the youngest brother, and he was 5'4". He suffered from asthma.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Then Chris
had extremely brittle bones that were,
and tried to get big with the steroids and never could, because your body, even with the steroids, can only handle so much.
Yeah, he tried numerous times to stay in the wrestling, despite his injuries. I mean, the kid would suffer broken bones all the time. And he wound up committing suicide with a 9mm 18 days before his 22nd birthday out by a lake. Yeah.
On the family property. That's the one I was thinking of then. He wanted so badly to be a wrestler like his brothers and his dad, but he just he didn't have the physique for it, and
he didn't have the body that could withstand the abuse.
And then that era, nowadays you could be 5'4" and wrestle, but back then no chance,
Well, no chance. He couldn't. There was no way he could really be medically cleared.
Even today, not with brittle bones.
No, but I'm saying if you wanted to, you can fake it easier. Even if he didn't have the brittle bones, even if he passed the bill of health, you could pay a doctor to say whatever you want, But you can go work places nowadays at 5'4" and be fine.
Yeah,
if you're charismatic.
Look at Dragon Lee.
Exactly. But you couldn't back then. There's no way. You had to be a big.
Dragon Lee's all of 5'5"?
Yeah, in heels. No,
So right now, it's basically, out of all the brothers, Kerry is the one that's more well known.
Yeah, Kerry
is the most.
Kerry is he beat Flair at Texas Stadium for the belt.
Yeah, he had it for 2 weeks. That was done. The one he did was an honor. He did it
at the tribute show. Yeah.
Yeah, May 6th, 1984.
That was the tribute for David.
Yes, David Von Erich Memorial Parade of Champions
at Texas Stadium. Yeah. And like I said, my favorite match of his, he wrestles Ric Flair in the cage for the NWA Championship that Flair held. And the special enforcer is Michael Haynes. Well, the match goes on. One thing leads to another, and Michael Haynes slams the door on Kerry Von Erich. And it starts the Von Erich Freebird feud, which took 4 years and made boatloads and boatloads of money.
Yeah.
And it brought us some unbelievable matches.
And it was Michael Hayes that inducted the Von Erichs into the Hall of Fame.
Deservedly so. And they are They are Texas wrestling.
Yep.
Especially North Texas wrestling.
The Funks would like to have a word with you.
Yeah, well, I mean, they are, like I said, North Texas. Amarillo was its own territory. El Paso, Houston was its own territory. The state's big enough where you can do that,
Shoot.
But all of them, WCCW was the most successful.
Yeah.
There was like 5 different territories down there.
Yeah. And that doesn't count Mid-South and Louisiana and Oklahoma and Arkansas. That doesn't count anything in New Mexico. It doesn't, you know what I'm saying? It's just there's a great tradition of wrestling in that area.
Yeah.
So.
But a lot of people don't know about Kerry. There was something about Kerry that was unique. He was involved in a motorcycle accident and lost I believe it was his right foot.
Yeah.
He wrestled with a prosthetic foot.
Well, he mangled his foot up in a motorcycle accident, took a bunch of painkillers, and tried to wrestle on the mangled foot, and that just damaged it that much further.
And they wound up amputating it.
Yeah. And he wrestled on a prosthetic foot when he was in WWF at the time. As the Texas Tornado, he had the prosthetic foot.
And there's an incident out there. I don't know if it's on the network or if it's on YouTube, where the foot actually got turned around in the boot. Oh. You could actually see it.
Ugh.
So yeah, I think they did a worked broken ankle gimmick.
Yeah, I should hope so.
On that, he kind of had the Gordon Hayward.
What are Takers and LL? What are your favorite matches the Von Erichs have been involved in?
Yeah.
Well, I liked them with, like I said, the biggest one I can remember is the Freebird feuds.
Wasn't that great?
It lasted for so long.
That was, 2 years of matches?
Every Friday, and it sold out every Friday. Yeah. And it was just the way wrestling should be.
I can't say what match was my favorite, but that was one feud. That was great because it went on for so long. And there was something new every week.
Yeah. Always another twist on the ankle.
Yeah, and that's keeps the people calling every week, and watch it on TV. Guys, we've said this before. Wrestling isn't hard.
No.
So
wrestling is simple.
Wrestling it's a love of the sport.
Yeah.
It's pride. It's passion.
Let's see. The Von Erichs family was inducted into the Hall of Fame. What was it?
April of 2009.
And it was
when they were in WrestleMania in Houston. Makes sense.
Yes. Do it in Texas. Why not?
Yep. Why not? Absolutely.
And Michael Hayes and then the Freebirds went in when they were in Dallas.
As well they should have.
Yes. And wasn't it Kevin that inducted them?
I believe so. I don't quote me on that, but that sounds like it could be right.
It was interesting to say the least.
So,
but yeah, I mean, this is a lot of tragedy, but a lot of wrestlers came out of that WCCW too.
Steve Austin got it. Steve Austin got his start there. JBL.
Who?
JBL. John Bradshaw got his start there, especially at the end when there wasn't a lot left. It was a good chance for younger guys to get a look. So,
yeah, but another very famous wrestler got his start down there too.
In the Texas territory?
Yes, in WCCW.
Ooh.
He went by Texas Red at the time.
Oh, whatever happened to him?
Gee, he became some character called The Undertaker.
Kind of washed out, huh?
Yeah,
whatever happened to that guy?
He became some guy by the name of The Undertaker.
Yeah, whatever happened? Whatever happened to that guy? I'm sure he just faded into history, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. 28 years now with WWE.
I gotta say, man, you know what? I am a smarky smark, as we've discussed. I am very much the modern wrestling fan, very cynical, very, But when I'm sitting there in New Orleans and those lights go out and that gong hits, it's like I'm a little kid again. You know, that was a cool moment.
By the way, I got
the match. Yeah, the match sucked, and yeah, he's broken.
I gotta say one thing to you, you rat bastard.
What?
You got to see something that I'm dying to see.
I got lucky, my friend. I got very lucky. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have rubbed it in.
That's fine. I'm picking.
But it's just, you know what, like, I was never a WWF guy growing up. I was a WCW guy until WCW became unwatchable in like 98, 99. Because my dad's a TBS guy. You know, we grew up on that stuff. But I always loved The Undertaker. Little kid, little me, loved The Undertaker. And just being in that building for that gong and that pageantry.
Hair standing up on it,
children
all over your body.
Great.
Yeah.
You know,
and you were a little 7 or 8 year old George.
Yep, you know it, man. wrestling is wrestling Underfaker.
Oh God, yeah, I'm such a. My name, my head will tell you exactly who I am. I am one of the biggest marks for Undertaker.
That's good. Makes me happy, man. I hope you stay that way. I hope it never gets to the point where you're watching wrestling and you're like, oh, screw everything. You know, like, just stop watching then.
There's been times where I
don't get the people who watch just to bitch. Like, who's got time for that? You know?
No.
It doesn't mean you can't not enjoy the product, but like, just stop watching, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I was a WCW guy for a long time. You know, after the whole thing with, I mean, I knew about The Undertaker. I watched him debut, and I was like, you know, I was kind of like what Roddy said. Wow, look at that ham hock. You know, because he was big.
He was big. Yeah, he was big boy, big cut boy. You know,
and he was, and no sold everything.
Loved it. That's a good gimmick, and he made it work. Because you think about it, the wrestling zombie. It should not work.
No.
He made it work.
He was good at it.
Yeah, he was.
Great teacher, though, in Fritz. That's where he learned.
That's it. 100% correct. I mean, if you're going to learn a gimmick, you learn from one of the best, right?
Exactly.
Just like Fritz learned from Stu, one of the best. Mm-hmm. And the cycle goes on, right?
And a nice segue there, George. As we get to family number 2 on our countdown. One of the greatest families to come out of Canada. Huge family, 12 siblings. Stu and Helen Hart, the Hart family, had 12 children.
God bless. It sounds painful.
Not much to do up in Calgary in the winter.
It's cold all winter. You know, I get
it. Cold.
Those winter nights were long.
Yeah, exactly.
A rather successful family in its own right.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, Stu was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Bret Hart is in the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
Yet another family that was touched by tragedy.
Yeah.
In Kansas City, one Owen Hart fell from the rafters and was killed entering the ring by accident.
I will never forget. I'll never forget that. To the day I was watching that show at my buddy Brian's house, because he lived across the street and he ordered all the WWF pay-per-views. And so I would always go to his house Sunday nights to watch them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget listening to JR and Jerry Lawler tell the world that Owen Hart was dead. And just the look on their faces, it's harrowing. Harrowing is the best word to describe it. I mean, just thinking about it just makes me the hair on my arm stand up.
Yeah, they don't even have, when you go to the network, they don't even show that match.
They shouldn't.
They don't even show it.
It's Owen was. Let's talk about Owen and then backtrack to the rest of the family real quick.
Go ahead.
I loved Owen Hart.
Everybody did.
As a wrestler, he was the little piece of you know what you want to see get beat up, which means he was doing his job, right?
Yeah, he was a piece of shit you wanted to see get his ass kicked.
Exactly. which is the point. You know what I mean? The point.
But he is one of the only ones that was able to get out of his siblings' shadow.
Yes. Good point.
Yes.
Really good point. He was his own man. He wasn't just Bret Hart's brother. And that cage match that they had in 94 in the big blue cage at SummerSlam is
the Gorilla Cage.
One of the best matches of its era. I will put that match up against anything. That match is tremendous. And the way the two of them just bumped and fell all over the place, and the crowd was buying everything, and all the Harts were technical mavens.
Yep.
But Owen was a little different in his own way than Bret, who was a little different than Jim, who was a little different than Davey Boy. Like, they were all a little different, and they were all excellent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my favorite match of all time is Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin at WrestleMania. That quit match. It's my favorite match of all time. And Bret Hart, heel Bret Hart in '97, where he thinks wrestling has left him by, and he's a heel in the U.S. and a face in Canada.
And wait a minute, and where else would that work? With who else would it work?
Who exactly? With who else would make it work than Bret Hart? And that year is my favorite year of any promotion, is '97 WWF. And Bret Hart.
That's what got me to come back, was that.
And Bret Hart is a huge reason why. And Owen and Brian Pillman as his lackeys, and Davey Boy and all those. It's the blending of truth and fiction and work and shoot. And it could not, no one else but a Hart could make that work. When you have that
figure
tradition,
the way they were trained.
Exactly.
I mean, they were the best technical wrestlers around.
Exactly. No one else but a Hart could make that angle work. Not even close. So it's a testament to how good their dad was and how well he trained them. That angle, that whole sequence, that whole summer of angles and Montreal and everything else was so brilliant. Because at the end of the day, they were able to just turn that on its head.
Well, you look at Stu, and you look at the wrestlers that he trained. You figure Roddy Piper went through Stu's dungeon. Yeah, Brian.
Every Canadian of note went through. Chris Jericho, who's still getting it done at 46 or whatever he is.
I love the new Jericho, by the way.
Ooh. Isn't it great?
Oh.
It's reinventing it. Yeah, I knew you would. I knew the second I saw this match, I'm like, you know who would love this? My dad and Taker's minion, because y'all are the same guy. When it comes to wrestling, you're the same guy. So it's just
okay. Go back. I'm sorry, LL.
I'm sorry, LL.
You get to the patriarch of the family and everything he did for his kids. His kids did not get any breaks.
No, none.
They took worse bumps, trained worse than the other wrestlers that they trained.
You're very, very good point. And I think because of that, you'll never hear anyone say a bad word about Bret Hart or Owen Hart or any of the boys, because they were in the trenches too.
Hell, you don't hear too much bad about Natty.
No, they were all in the trenches.
She has one great distinction. Natty is the only woman to ever come out of the dungeon.
And she was, the way she talked, she went through the same thing the boys went through. And
yeah, because and they were not having it any other way.
She had it hard. But she had Stu, she had her grandfather, she had her uncles, and her father all training her. So she really went through hell to get where she's at.
Mm-hmm. She was the first woman from the Hart family to win gold when she won her Divas title. Yeah. You know.
Yeah.
And people knock her in-ring.
They say she's slow. She don't know what she's doing. She can't do it. But she is a mat wrestler. She's a technical. She's not a flyer.
No. And you know what?
Let's really work.
Back up for a second here. They say she's slow. And that tells me that you don't understand how wrestling works if you think that. I'm not saying you guys. I'm saying it in general. Because what makes wrestling great is if the audience can follow along, right? And I like watching the Lucha Libres do their flippy stuff, but you got to let stuff breathe, you know?
The slow, methodical.
Exactly. She and her whole family were experts at all the little things, like working a headlock with a growl on your face so that the crowd can hate you. Like that's the stuff that's the Stu Hart legacy, is nailing all the little things. You know what I mean?
Not only that, when you go slow like that, you gotta wait to check angles, everything.
Yep.
Well, her putting someone into the sharpshooter, and she leans back. What is the first thing that you start hearing her say? Tap. She starts screaming it. Subtlety.
It's yes. Thank you. Perfect way to describe it. Subtlety. There is a very lack of subtlety, especially in the modern WWF, but in WWE, excuse me, but in wrestling in general. And she is great at that. She owns that.
If WWE would let her wrestle the way she was trained, she'd be basically unbeatable.
You're right.
And everybody says she's nothing but a heat vacuum.
That just tells me you don't understand how wrestling works if you think that.
No.
Like, she is not my favorite, but I will go to bat for her all the time in terms of her in-ring ability.
I loved it when she finally won the title.
She deserved it.
Yep. People say she did. You know, that cat stuff and the stuff they got her doing is laughable. Let her wrestle.
Exactly. I mean, let her just be her.
Yeah, if you let her be her and wrestle the way she was taught, like I said, she'd be unbeatable.
I mean, the match she had with Charlotte at TakeOver 2-3 years ago was one of the best matches of the year that year.
Yeah, it was. I was just going to bring that up.
It was an incredible match.
Well, you know, now that she's in Raw and she's more of a face, she's actually doing a lot more wrestling.
Yes.
In the ring than she was as a heel on SmackDown. She's actually showing more of what she knows.
They're actually letting her breathe.
Yes. And I think it's good. That's the natty. It's not quite there, but that's the natty that can wrestle.
You know, anybody who says she can't wrestle, I am one of those people. I'm like you, George. I will defend her. One of the things about it is that she doesn't do the flippy do stuff.
No, and wrestling is great when everyone is different.
And that's the problem. Everybody wants to flippy do.
Yeah, it's not. It just doesn't work. Some people can do it, some people can't. But I've made this analogy all the time. Wrestling is like the circus, right? Some people go to the circus for the ringmaster. Some people go for the acrobats. Some people go for the elephants, you know. But the best circus has something for everybody. The best wrestling show has something for everybody. And
me being old school, like I am, I like a lot of the mat wrestling. I like the rear chin locks for 5 minutes, you know.
So do I.
Well, it's not only that. You look at it. If you look at the injury history, it's the high flyers, the flippy shit, stuff like that. Those are the ones that get injured more.
Yes. And even if they don't get injured, they're the ones who have bad knees and hips. You know, even if they don't suffer a catastrophic injury, they have much more wear and tear.
Do you figure more of the technical wrestlers?
Like, think of this, right? Think of this, and then we'll segue. You look at a Daniel Bryan, right? Now that he's come back, you notice how he's tuned down the high flying stuff?
Yeah.
Because he realizes that that's what got him hurt, that helped get him hurt the first time. So, I mean, and he's smarter than all of us when it comes to this. And he's making Daniel Bryan, and he's making the technical work. So don't tell me technical wrestling can't work.
Yeah.
There's fewer injuries.
Exactly. So, what is your favorite Bret Hart match? Let's talk about Bret for a minute. Yeah. I mean, there's so many to choose from.
Yeah, no kidding. But I have to agree with your choice. That's the one that kind of got me, you know, Brett versus Owen, and that was basically Owen's coming out party and getting out from under Brett's shadow.
Yes.
And
there is
Owen had one thing I liked about Owen as a heel. He had that voice, that irritating, nasally voice. Yep. It was like you want to see him get his mouth shut.
It wasn't just the voice; it was the look, the way his face got.
And with the two slammies, and he was just the guy you love to hate.
Yeah.
I have a homework assignment for you too. There is a match. It's on the network at a show called Canadian Stampede. It's a 10-man tag in Calgary, by the way. So keep that in mind. Here are the two teams. You ready? Ooh. The Hart Foundation, which is Bret Hart, Brian Pillman, the British Bulldog, Jim Neidhart, and Owen Hart, versus Ken Shamrock, Goldust, Hawk and Animal, and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Was that the flag match? No.
It was not a flag match. It was a 10-man tag at the end of a pay-per-view called In Your House Canadian Stampede from 1997. It's on the network. The match itself is about 25 minutes. It's great. By the way, there was a really good Taker, Big Van Vader, rest in peace, match right beforehand. That's also worth checking out. So that's your homework assignment, Mr. Takers, Mrs. Takers, is to watch this match, this 10-man tag. It's on the network. Go to Canadian Stampede is the name of the show, and it's the very last match in the show. And the crowd is so into this match, they shake the building.
You want to know what's so funny? As soon as you said Vader Taker match before, you know you'll watch it now.
Yeah, and the whole card's great. The great Sasuke is on this card. If you want to talk about guys from the past,
who?
The great Sasuke. He wrestled in World Class and he wrestled a little bit in Japan.
Yes.
Yeah. But the last two matches on this card are awesome. And the main event of this card, if you want to see the Hart Foundation in all of its glory and a crowd that is willing to walk through the gates of hell, this is the match you need to watch. And you two would love it because it is so old school. With Steve Austin playing the dick heel, you know, he's going after Stu in the crowd, and Stu's yelling at him in the crowd. It's wrestling at its finest.
Okay, you see that? You said the Hart Foundation.
Yep.
Did they have Jimmy Hart there with them?
No.
No. The five wrestlers were Bret, Owen, Bulldog, Neidhart, and Brian Pillman.
Oh, I understand that. But you got to remember, the Hart Foundation, when they were down here, was Jim the Anvil, Bret Hart, and their manager, Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart.
Oh, no, Jimmy Hart was in WCW at the time, so he was not here for this. Too bad, because Jimmy was one of the greats.
Put it this way, I love Bret Hart.
There are some great
wrestler. My favorites were with the Hart Foundation, Jim the Anvil, Bret Hart, and Jimmy Hart.
The good stuff.
Yes.
And fighting the Rockers or the Legion of Doom.
Yep.
So
and back then the Hart Foundation were heels, and I wanted the Rockers to win so bad.
We all did. We all love the Rockers.
Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels.
Until that coward Marty Jannetty jumped through that plate glass window.
Yes.
The Rockers, don't get me wrong. But when it came to the Hart Foundation, whether they were heels or not, I went for the Hart Foundation.
The smart lady. You picked a good one, Mr. Takers.
Well, here's the thing.
Can't get away from Jimmy Hart. I'm sorry. Jimmy Hart was the best.
He was awesome.
Well, here's something that you said that's coming from a woman who was a big fan of Reginald Terry, the Crusher Lisowski, one of the greatest heels in AWA. Even though they were him and Dick DeBruzy, even though they were over as faces, they were still heels. You know, I love
the Crusher.
You know, the Crusher had to notify the police department in local South Milwaukee as to what bar he was going to be in,
so that they knew
if there was a fight there. He didn't go to jail. No, the other guys, the guy who got their asses kicked, went to
because
jail.
He never started it.
Exactly.
He never started a fight.
No, but he finished all of them. Right?
Yep.
Gotta love him.
It's just you don't get those guys anymore.
Well, what was he like 8-10 blocks from your house, hon?
Something like that, yeah. He lived on Lake Shore Drive.
So,
it's.
But we digress.
No. It's just I'm just reminiscing about how great. I never want to be the guy who says wrestling was better back in the day, but
it was.
It was and it wasn't, but it was for sure when Bret and Owen were causing trouble. When Bret Hart was dominant.
Well,
back in the days when wrestling was actually wrestling. It was actually a sport.
Yeah.
That's the difference. It was an actual sport back then.
You know what? People cared.
Yeah.
People cared. Crowds cared. People had heat. Guys and ladies had heat. And it's just, I mean, I don't know. I miss the old days.
So do I.
I miss the old days.
I miss ye olden days too.
So. You miss it when wrestling was wrestling, when they had the passion and the love for the sport.
So
it wasn't just a job.
Exactly. Now, yeah, I miss the old days. I miss Bret. I miss Bret Hart. And I really miss Owen Hart.
Yep. I just missed our foundation together.
Yeah.
They were the greatest. Jim the Anvil was his laugh.
Yep. That heel laugh.
That laugh would get you every time.
Yep.
And in Jimmy Hart's big mouth.
We look at the great match that Davey Boy Smith and Bret Hart had over at SummerSlam at Wembley.
Oh my God, what a match. Oh my God.
And they're family, by marriage.
Yeah.
Or when you had Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil took on the British Bulldogs themselves.
Yes.
That was a great match.
That's Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy Smith.
Another legend. Not a Hart, but Dynamite Kid was one of the first little guys to make it big in North America.
Well, he was actually Davey Boy Smith's cousin.
Okay, so he's a Hart by marriage then.
Yes, Davey Boy is a Hart by marriage.
No, but Dynamite was Davey Boy's cousin, right?
Was related to Davey Boy.
Yeah, they're cousins, I think.
Yeah. So he's a Hart by default.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Well, you look at some of the wrestlers, like you mentioned early on, that he worked with. He helped train Davey Boy Smith, Dynamite Kid, Junkyard Dog.
Yep.
Roddy Piper. He worked with Andre. Okay, Stu did.
Stu worked with everybody.
If you needed seasoning, you went to Calgary.
Absolutely, and you got seasoning, and you made money in the process.
And you got stretched beyond belief. You hear the stories of the screams and hollers coming through the heat ducts in the house.
Yep.
From the dungeon, which was a dingy.
But the guys and lady, I should say, who made it out of there were the best in the world.
Yep.
So there's something to be said for training from hell. Yep.
He taught shoot style. He taught shoot fighting. He taught submission wrestling, which is a lost art.
Yes, it is.
When was the last time, George? When was other than the last two matches that Daniel Bryan had with Big Cass? When was the last time you saw someone win a match with a heel hook?
Oh my God! I'd have to go back to the 90s at least.
Yeah.
To that UWF pancrase stuff. Yeah, a heel hook. Or spinning toe hold, right?
And when we were talking tragedies in the Hart family, not only did we lose Owen, but we lost Davey Boy Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, drugs.
You figure even though Dynamite Kid was Davey Boy's cousin, we didn't lose him, but he ended up crippled. He's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, he's in a wheelchair from flipping around.
Yeah.
On those hard ass rings,
Yep.
Bret Hart's all broken up. I mean, there's a lot of there's tragedy there too.
There is.
That's a family that really paid their dues.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the family. If we go on sheer size alone, the Hart family is the largest in professional wrestling.
Oh yeah. Especially and I would argue importance, they are on the short list for most important.
Yeah.
In my estimation.
Hence the reason they're number 2.
Vitally important. You cannot say enough things about their influence in this business.
I mean, anybody that's a really great wrestler. A lot of them, you can look through it and you find out Stu's in their background.
Absolutely.
Stu in Canada. Stu in Canada is what Vern Gagne is in Minnesota.
Yeah. Or what Fritz is in Dallas.
Exactly.
And only times 10.
Yeah.
So it's just the importance of Stu. It cannot be. I mean, we could spend hours talking about how vital Stu is and still not cover all of it.
Yeah. I mean, the entire family is a plethora of wrestlers,
Stu's basically been a wrestler all his life.
Yeah.
He started out as a shoot fighter.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, when I say shoot fighter, wrestling matches when Stu first started were actual wrestling matches that there wasn't a 1, 2, 3. It went till someone couldn't go anymore.
Yeah, it went until one guy didn't get up.
Yeah, and matches could last 6, 7 hours. One match. And it's a complete different animal today.
I mean, we talk about.
Unfortunately, you cannot find any film of older matches like that. It's just a crying shame that there's no film of any kind. Even silent film where you see someone give up on a match or a match ends suddenly and you're like, what the hell just happened? And it would be a submission.
Yeah, exactly.
And you would look at it and go, that doesn't look like it's all that much, but it was all on how much pressure was put on certain areas. I mean, Stu could dislocate your arm with a hammerlock.
Absolutely, and did.
Yeah, did. Wrestling today is so much different than it was.
Agreed.
They didn't tell stories back. I could say back in the dark ages of wrestling because, I didn't see it, so I don't know. But I could say it was probably. It took a lot of endurance on the people in the ring as well as in the stands, in the seats.
Yeah. But Stu's. Let's talk about his business real quick. Calgary was a very successful territory for decades.
Yeah.
Decades. And Stu was the brains behind that operation as well.
Yeah. One of the greatest alliances he made was with Vince Sr.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. He saw the writing on the wall before anyone else did.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. So,
when men were men, right, guys?
Yeah, really. You look at the family tree here, and it's just like, Harry Smith, he's out wrestling still. He's wrestling over New Japan, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. He is former tag team champion.
Yeah. It's amazing. Oh man, look at this.
Davey Boy's son.
Davey Boy's son, yeah, he's very good. It's funny, he is much like his father, he is a powerhouse, but he's still technically sound because he knows what he's doing. It's in the blood,
Yeah, he also trained under Stu.
Yeah, he's very technically sound. Of the two, between him and his partner, he is the better of the two by far.
I'm looking at this family tree here, and I see Owen Hart's name.
It's
okay,
and it makes you sad, huh?
Because he was only a year younger than me when he died.
Yeah, he was.
He was 33. He was 33 years old. He had just turned
my age.
It was actually his 33rd birthday when he died.
Are you serious?
Yep. He was born May 7, 1965. He died May 7, 1999. He had just turned 33 that day.
It was his birthday. Didn't he have kids?
Yeah, 2 young ones, little, younger than the age of 10. I want to say when their father passed.
Let's see, Athena. She was 6.
Because it was a stupid stunt. You know?
And the thing is what people need to know is it is stated Owen did not want to do it.
Never.
Nope, he didn't want to do the stunt.
At the last minute, he decided to do it, even though he did not want to.
Because, yeah, it was that's the wrestling he grew up in. When the boss says jump, you jump. Unfortunately. And
so yeah, he if he was still alive today, he would be 53 years old.
Yeah, and have grandkids, playing with grandkids at his house, probably.
Yep.
Man, what a waste.
Damn.
What a fucking waste.
That just drove it home to me.
Yeah, what a waste.
It was a waste because of something somebody wanted him to do when he didn't want to do it.
So, yeah. He was the man. I loved him. I loved him, and I was so bummed.
That is one of the reasons there was such controversy between WWF and the Hart family.
And yeah, and I know which side I'm on.
And still today, there's a lot of heat.
The side I'm on is
why would Mark Henry say what he said last year?
Yeah, that was
mess with me. I don't think WWE put him up to it. I think he did that on his own.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell Martha Hart what she should not do when it comes to the memory of her husband.
No, I know, but I understand. I see both sides. Okay, the fans want it. The fans want it more than anything. The fans want it.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys lost me. What are you talking about?
Mark Henry. Oh, tell the story.
Mark Henry.
When he was inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Was inducted in the Hall of Fame this past April. During his induction speech, and it's on the network, he talks about, he even says, Martha, it's time to let Owen come home. Meaning it, he got the crowd behind him that it's time for Owen to go in the Hall. The fans want it. The fans have been wanting it for years. And Martha just won't agree for one reason or another. I don't know what it is. I mean, they've gotten their, they won their lawsuit, the wrongful death suit, all of that. I have my opinions. I see both sides. Both sides have valid points. But Mark Henry went shoot with that statement that, it's time, Martha, it's time. Let Owen come home. Let him be put into the Hall of Fame with the rest of the family. Because right now he's the only family member from the Stu Harts that are gone, of the Hart family, that are, gone, not with us anymore, that are not in the Hall of Fame.
I think what it is because that is what took her. That's what took him away.
It could be, but I don't know.
Remembers that.
I don't know. It's just a sad thing. I'd love to see it. I'd love to live it, be alive when it happens.
Yeah.
I would like to celebrate Owen Hart's life, but I understand why it could be too raw for her, to be honest. I get it. I get everybody's argument here.
Yeah, I mean, it's been 20 years.
You talk about both sides. I get all the arguments. I understand what everyone's saying.
That's the thing of being, involved in podcasting and whatnot. You learn very much how to be objective.
You're right.
And it's not easy.
No, not. So
you if anybody know that, George.
You're right, my friend. You're right.
Being a member of the quote unquote, we're members of the wrestling media, whether
we are,
want to believe it or not.
No, we are, and I take that, and that's a responsibility I try to take as seriously as possible. It's my job to present the facts, and it's your job to interpret them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's not. I'm not going to tell you what to think, and it's not something I'm interested in.
No. And anybody who says, "Oh, do our opinion? Do we give our opinions?" Sure, we do.
Absolutely.
But
we don't make shit up. You know?
No.
But we also bring out the facts.
Exactly.
But this is the reason with the success with Owen, with Brett, and and with this very big success that Stu Hart did and gave the wrestling community. That's why they're our number 2.
Well said. Takers, what's our number 1?
Our number 1 family. Royalty.
Yes.
Wrestling royalty, we call them. They are known as wrestling royalty. One of the most successful families ever in professional wrestling. The Anawais. Starting with the first generation of Afa and Sika, the Wild Samoans. However, there is something that a lot of people do not know. They wrestled down in Mississippi in the old Gulf Coast wrestling.
That's not the beginning of that family.
Well, actually, it's Peter Maivia is a blood brother to the family. Went through the actual Samoan High Chief.
But he is still considered. He's a grandfather to a lot of them.
Yeah, it was through. I think I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it's Ami Tuwana'i Anawai and Peter Maivia are blood brothers. That's a connection that is now continued with Afa and Sika, who regard Peter as their uncle.
They are a family that is uncommonly close. That even people who are not related by blood are still in the family.
Yes, you get married into the family, you're family.
Yep. And
it's suddenly you marry one of the members of their family. If you're a wrestler, you suddenly move up the card,
and deservedly so because they deliver on the card. You know,
look at Naomi.
I was gonna say, look at the prime example, Naomi. For years, nothing but a jobber and part of the Funkadactyls.
Mm-hmm.
Marries one of the Usos. I can't think of which one she's married to right now.
I think Jimmy. I think. Don't quote me on that though.
Yeah.
It's just
Jimmy. Yeah, she's married to Jimmy.
And the one thing and the thing about this family that I love the most is that they are so close and so loyal to each other through good and ill that it really serves as like an inspiration to all families, that we should all be as close to our family, even the ones we don't like, because we all have them.
Mm-hmm.
As these guys are and ladies are.
I mean, this family,
it's a role model. They're role models.
If you want to talk about a tight family, this is it.
This is it. And, I mean, the world would be a better place if all families were as tight as these guys. You know?
Yeah, no kidding.
My favorite out of this family is Chief Maivia.
The High Chief.
High Chief Peter Maivia.
That is who I started watching.
He was a super draw on the West Coast. Packed buildings. San Francisco, Los Angeles. Yeah. All over. Yep. All over. So it's a great great place to start.
Yeah. But
I was a match with him in I forgot who he wrestled in Hawaii. I mean, he was so agile. He could move.
He was a big man, Peter Maivia.
But he moved well for a big man.
Mm-hmm.
And he always smiled. No matter what you did to him or he did, he always had a smile on his face.
That's true.
He was one of the greats. And his children and grandchildren and nephews and nieces, they're almost all of them wrestling greats in their own regard too.
Yeah, like I said, it's first generation of the Anawais by not a blood brothers, but of the actual family itself is Afa and Sika. But a lot of people don't know this. They wrestled as the Wild Mongolians down in Mississippi.
Really?
Yes, managed by they were bald head with these little spots with a ponytail in the back of their head. If you look, you can't find any of it. I used to watch when I was 13, I think. They had a 50,000-watt torch out of Pascagoula that would hit our home in Mobile,
okay,
in Alabama, and Channel 13, and I'd watch every Saturday and Sunday.
That's awesome. That's so great.
The Wild Mongolians were managed by none other than Percy Pringle III.
Sky Point. That's good stuff, my friend.
And once they came to the WWF. They came when Vince Sr. had the company. They were put with one of the greatest managers of all time, Captain Lou.
Yep, one of the best. One of the best.
Yeah, who was a manager of champions.
I love their act, by the way, that they were so different, vicious, strong. You could tell that they were strong men in a fight, and they were authentic. I think that's a good word for them.
And the one, just the way his eyes were, he looked so crazy.
Sika, even today, you look at him.
It's his eyes.
His eyes will still scare you.
Those big-ass eyes.
You're right.
The big-ass eyes, the big-ass hair.
Yep. The look, they invented that gimmick, right? That so many people have gotten so much mileage on the Wild Islander gimmick. They invented it. Like, so they deserve credit
Captain Lou was able to
a wrestling stereotype, Yeah. They invented.
And it worked with Umaga.
Yep. Rikishi for a while.
Yeah.
Like so many guys.
It's just a fun. They're a fun family. You look at the wrestlers that have been through. Okay, that are all the wrestlers that they've had in the family, and it's nonstop.
Well, there's some in there that people don't even realize are part of that family. Big Yokozuna.
Mm-hmm.
Rodney.
Yep.
Look at Reno. Black Pearl. He was known as Black Pearl. Matthew, Rosie, Leati, Roman Reigns, Sam, Tonga Kid, and Tama.
Wasn't it Tama that was part of the Islanders?
Yes.
He was.
Uncle Eddie was Umaga, and he was also Jamal in 3 Minute Warning.
3 Minute Warning. I remember 3 Minute Warning. Eric Bischoff's muscle.
Yep. Salofa Fatu Jr. Rikishi, and he was also known as Fatu, so he was part of 3 Minute Warning as well. And a lot of people don't know that about Rikishi. That's just one line. And now we've got, Jonathan and we got Jimmy and Jay,
who are incredible right now. I mean, they're a little less incredible now that they've kind of been pushed down the card. But their 2017 was one of the best years you'll ever see.
If you look at 2015 to 2017,
once they got rid of the face paint, they've been awesome.
Yes, I know. I even got threatened to get punched by one of them.
Good for you.
Ringside, yes.
Yeah. That's the good heat right there, Takers.
He got that with a wink.
I got it with a wink because I stayed behind the rail and
as you should. Don't ever jump the rail.
I didn't even lean over the rail. I had my hands on the rail, but I never leaned over the rail. But I was telling him, talking shit to him because I didn't, they were heels. And what are you supposed to do to a heel?
You're supposed to trash the heels, yeah.
I was trashing him. And he goes, "You need to shut up." And I said, "Why don't you shut me up?"
Yeah.
And he cocked back with a fist, and I stuck my face. I slapped the side of my face and go, "Come on."
Wrestling is awesome.
You also tried that with Natalia.
Oh yeah, I was giving Natalia a bunch of grief too when she was healed. This is a SmackDown show.
Good job. You're a good fan, Takers.
That's it. I boo the heels. I boo the heels and cheer the faces.
You're a good fan. You know,
except when it came to John Cena, then I was cheering.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. I agree there.
Oh God! But no, this family, it's wrestling royalty.
Yes. It's wrestling royalty across the generations and across the promotions. And most importantly, they've never forgotten where they come from. No. And they've never forgotten who helped them along the way. And that's why they always pay it forward to other members of the family.
And that's it.
And not to get on a soapbox, but I think if all families were like that, this would probably be a better place.
Yeah.
So
but you figure that, like you said, they all stick together.
They all stick together.
They practice together. Everything.
It's a thing of beauty.
And often Sika have a school in Pennsylvania, the Wild Samoans Wrestling School.
Good.
Which gave us Batista. That's where he trained.
Before he went to OVW. Yeah.
Right.
And
that's where he learned.
I love it. And they're a good play. They're a good number one choice for the countdown.
Yep. It was a tough decision between them and the Hearts.
But I think that the fact that they're still going strong, I think, is what puts them over the top.
Yeah, that's what put them over the top for us.
Yeah, I think that's a good tiebreaker.
Because you figure the Hearts only have 2 in there, and Donawana, you got.
Oh my God!
2, 3.
Jimmy J. Roman just in the WWF or WWE, excuse me. It's Naomi by marriage. We talked about,
but then
she moved up the card, and it shows that she has improved. It's like she's been working out with the family.
Yes, and she moved up the card, deservedly so.
And you also got Naya.
Yep.
Naya through the Blood Brothers side with Peter Maivia's family.
High Chief and related to The Rock, yeah.
Yeah, he's related to The Rock. She's related to The Rock. Rock was Rocky Johnson and is Rocky Johnson's son.
And the High Chief's daughter.
Yeah. Which the High Chief didn't want her marrying a wrestler.
Smart, unfortunately.
Not only that, that's his adopted daughter.
Yes.
It's not his blood daughter.
But to them, it's all the same, though.
Yeah, but to be fair, he has no children.
Okay.
He's got an adopted daughter, which he absolutely adored.
Good. As he should. There are so many kids out there who need homes. I'm glad he's setting that example.
And, it's a shame that he's gone and that his wife is gone.
Yeah.
There was a woman right there who was shrewd. After the High Chief died, she took over the territory in Hawaii
and kept it running.
And kept it running for a lot of years.
Hell yeah, good stuff.
I mean, the Anawa'i families is like I said, the blue bloods of the WWE.
They are. That's a very
and as much crap as they put on Roman, he's the company guy.
Absolutely, he is. Why wouldn't he be?
You won't find anybody more loyal.
He's not dumb.
Nope.
Thing is, you won't find anybody more loyal.
He knows who pays his bills, as well he should.
That's the biggest thing with that family.
The loyalty.
They're so loyal.
Yep. And they keep each other in line too.
Oh yeah.
So it's a fitting conclusion to our countdown.
I can only imagine, let's say Roman's having an issue, or I should say Sika sees something that Roman's doing and it's not right.
Yeah, that's a bigger discipline, bigger threat.
All it would take is a phone call.
Yep. Because you know, and I know the three of us know the one thing you don't want to do is disappoint your family.
No.
So,
all it would take is a phone call from Dad to Roman,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? You need to do this. You need to do this. You know better.
Not
We
even
taught you
Dad.
better.
It could be. It could be
anybody.
Rikishi. It could be any of the elders in that family.
Oh yeah. See, that's the thing. That's the thing. That I have to give all the Pacific Islanders credit for. When it comes to older people, the elders,
highly respected.
Very much. Their word, when an elder speaks to you, their word is law.
Yes. Because they have earned that.
Yes. And it's, you know, the Anawa'i, like I said, you know, wrestling royalty, the Blue Bloods of WWE. They have the longest continuous line of wrestlers. Because all the men, pretty much all the men wrestle or have wrestled at one point or another in their lives. Even if it's just one match, they've done it.
Out of all of them, even his father, the one that Roman really looks up to is his uncle. And that's even though his uncle isn't here anymore. That is the one he honors the most.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Uncle,
it his
Uncle Eddie?
Yeah. Mm.
Eddie was the one who got the Jimmy and Jay in the business.
And Roman.
Yeah. Those three boys, that's a faction waiting to happen.
It is. Hopefully we get it sooner rather than later.
Oh, scary faction to say the least. That's like I said, that would be one hell of a heel faction.
It would, absolutely.
And they would need. I know the perfect manager for him too.
Who?
Not Paul. Not Paul Heyman. It's a Paul. It would be Paul Ellering. Paul Ellering.
Nice. Talk me into it.
And it could always. They want a female. Bring. You got Naomi. Bring Naya over.
Yeah, you can put Naomi there as if they want a woman as the manager. Put Naomi there.
Naomi. They bring the three cousins together, but bring Naya and Naomi.
Like I said, there's and call it the Samoan Mafia. It works.
Because you got Naomi is a flyer and stuff, but you got Naya is the powerhouse. She's like Roman. They're the powerhouses.
Yep. Now like I said, George, that's a hell of a faction waiting to happen.
Absolutely it is. And it would freshen up everybody too.
Yes, it would.
That would almost be like the Heart Foundation.
Yeah, you're right.
Bringing a certain group together.
You know, there would be no stronger bond than family.
None.
And remember, which match was that? When The Rock came out to Roman. Everybody thought The Rock was going to hit Roman. And what did The Rock say? Blood sticks together. Yep.
And he's blood by the ceremony, which was an actual blood transferring ceremony.
That is actually family. And he goes, blood stands with blood.
That's a good way of putting it.
Hell, The Rock would be a hell of a manager of that group. Because if you think about it, back when he was with
that group doesn't. But that group doesn't. I don't know if that group honestly needs one though.
No, honestly, it don't. The only one that really has a problem, well, though he's gotten better at talking, is Roman.
Yeah, but he's gotten better. You said so yourself.
But like, bring The Rock in, it's family, and he's got the mouth for it.
Yeah, he does. He can cut promos better, as good as anybody. The Rock can.
Yeah.
The problem is that he would probably try to make it about himself, and that would cause dissension amongst the group.
That's not acceptable.
No, I don't actually think he would.
Can't have dissension in that group. But it's Jesus. These top 10s, and yes, I know, ladies and gentlemen, there are names we left off.
And there's always going to be names left.
We're going to upset one person or another. That, well, why isn't this family on, or why isn't that family on? You can't fit everybody. And each top 10 list is objective. It's based on what we felt as a group. Sorry, George, you weren't part of the group on this.
That's
but
okay.
What
I
we
agree
felt
with your list.
what we felt as the top 10 wrestlers of all time for us. Top 10 wrestling families of all time for us.
Okay.
I don't know if you voted in Group A on the fan vote for Hall of Fame.
I did not know.
Okay. Group B will be ending tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, well, it ends tonight.
No, it ends tomorrow morning. Because Group C will be going up tomorrow. Let me dig that up here real fast. So I can tell you who they are. Because I gave it to Chris. I tweeted it to him.
Well, people, we don't give it out. People will know that tomorrow when it comes up.
Yeah, the winner is looking like it's going to be, I think, Randy.
That's another family you could have added to the list, by the way. Randy and Bob Orton. And Bob Orton Sr.
We talked about them. We talked about the Ortons. We talked about the Ortons. We talked about, let's see, recent.
Let's see. I got the list here.
For Group B?
No. When we talked, people at the families we talked about, the first family we did were the Funks.
Was who?
Second, the Funks.
Right, we did the Funks.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Then we did the Ortons. And then when you went going, the nightly thread for a week, we did the 10 through 4.
Yep. Okay, and here's the 5 names for this week's list.
What are you doing?
For the Group B poll that is ending tomorrow morning.
Okay.
You ready, George?
Yeah.
Andre, Hulk Hogan, Jake Roberts, Randy Savage, Ultimate Warrior.
What is this for?
The fan selection for August Hall of Fame for Connoisseurs.
Okay.
We have the first Sunday of every month, we have a show where we induct someone into our Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Current members are Bruno, Bobby. I think that's it, right? Bruno and Bobby. Next week, we're inducting a family into the Hall of Fame. But August is a fan vote. So of those 5, who would you choose? George?
Andre.
Now, I chose Jake.
Okay. I mean, they're all good choices, but I would go with Andre.
Tomorrow is another tough list.
Gotta wait till it comes out for that.
Gotta wait till it comes out, though. We put it on Cage Side, so we're opening it up to Cage Side.
Okay.
So yeah, with 58 votes cast, Randy's by far ahead of everybody at 40%.
We got 4 groups, and there's a winner out of each group. And then for 2 weeks, you got to
get the vote.
2 weeks, that way you decide out of the 4 winners who goes into August Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
But that one's a private ballot. That one you would either tweet us your answer or you would send an email.
Yeah, the Group A winner was Ric Flair.
Deservedly so.
Yeah, we had Ric Flair. I can pull that out here. Let me see. Who was in Group A? Yeah, Ric Flair, Sting, Ricky Steamboat, Roddy Piper, and Eddie Guerrero. That was a pretty tough group, but this second group was even harder. The last group, though, is the screw you really got to think list. Mm-hmm. It's got some current and some past. But you have to wait. And like I said, I'll get that information to you so you can vote, George.
Okay. Yeah, send it to me.
Yep. So we're going to wrap this up. It's been a trip down memory lane. We can't say nothing more positive about the families that we're all the families on a top 10 list. Each one is different. Some are smaller, some are bigger. We did this because of this month being Father's Day. What's the best way to celebrate that is to talk about the families and the patriarchs of the families.
A great tie-on.
I do have some good ideas sometimes.
Yeah, you do. It was her idea. It's nice having a woman on staff. She's our lead researcher and curator. So, George, where can folks find you? Of course,
Twitter at Giatsavis, GATSA, V as in Victor, ES. I podcast every Thursday, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern. My podcast Twitter feed is 2 Guys, 1 Sport, the number 2 and the number 1. 2 Guys, 1 Sport, Thursday, 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
That's great. LL, where can they find you?
Windstorm64 on Twitter. Or sometimes a nightly, sometimes a daily. And I do for Connoisseurs of Wrestling. Twitter at Connoisseurs of Wrestling.
And of course, you can find me at Takers_Minion on Twitter, the daily and the nightly on a regular basis on K-Side Seats. You can also find my show, the Shooting Debris, with my cohort from Japan, who's going to be on location this week as we have come to our 1-year anniversary show this coming Saturday, which the show will be starting 1 hour earlier at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, if I survive work the night before. But yeah, it's our 1-year anniversary show. It's amazing that we've made it a year. From our humble beginnings to now, it's been a heck of a ride. We also plug other shows on this broadcast. We talked about 2 Guys, 1 Sport, of course. There's also the Ruthless Aggression podcast run by Metal Matt and friends. Violent Wrestling podcast. To check all the listings. Violent Wrestling podcast is one of those check your local listings because they don't have a set date. We've got Wednesday Night Shooting with Tanya Rogers and Andrew Swift. And all we try to do here at Connoisseurs of Wrestling is whet your appetite into going and doing some research, either on YouTube, on the network if you have it, or go on Wikipedia and read up on the families we talked about tonight. There's just so much information out there for you all to learn about the business of what it once was like. And that's all we try to do here. This is basically set the table for you. So for Legends Lover and George, I'm Taker's Minion, and we bid you a good night.
Bye, guys.
Good night.